been a long camp. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to get out and get a haircut. I don't even know what day it is right now. Been grinding away. The guys are working hard. This is what fall camp's all about. Growing a beard, letting your hair get down a little bit, and just out there getting better. Tonight was a good night. Guys competed. A little scrimmage night. Kind of same format. Let the ones go against the ones, twos versus twos, threes versus threes. Got a series, 2 open field series. So they got about 25, 26 plays in the open field. They got about 15, 16 in the red zone, and they got some goal line work tonight as well.
Any groups, players, anything like that just catch your eye tonight?
A few. Yeah, really hard to tell. I mean, there were some guys that made some plays. A couple turnovers. The defense did a great job. They've been really working on what they do after the turnover, trying to score, and that showed up tonight. You know, you can see the defense transitioning on some turnovers and making plays. Some good throws were made tonight. I thought we saw some good things in the run game that we wanted to see from the O-line, tight ends, running backs, and then from the defensive line as well. We set in the edge. We're being physical up front. There were some stones in there by the defensive line on some run game that were really good. That the offense wasn't getting much early on.
Maybe not necessarily tonight, but here in this first week of camp, I mean, any of those groups kind of really stepped up that you wanted to see?
Yeah, in their own ways, really in their own ways. I do think, obviously, our linebackers have played well. I think the D linemen, I think those guys have shown, some of the young guys as well, just some depth in that area. I think those guys have been physical. I really thought our wide receivers tonight did a great job. They were competing. They made some big plays down the field. Went up and made some tough catches, and then they were out there also blocking the perimeter. That's been a big part of what we've been emphasizing in camp.
With those backup running backs, where are you in trying to find that number 2?
Yeah, still trying to find it. Yeah, we're still working on it. Still trying to see in that rotation who that's going to be, giving those guys opportunities, and they're taking advantage of their reps. We'll have to go back and watch this film and see where they are. We're
probably going to see one of those true freshmen, I would imagine.
You know, I don't know that yet. We're still early in camp. We don't have the whole load, on them mentally, and I think that's a big part of it too. It's not just the physical part. Can they handle the rest of it? And we're not ready to make that decision yet.
Been pretty healthy so far in camp?
Yeah, been good. Yeah, guys have been healthy, knock on wood, and so far I think the training from the summer has shown up too. The conditioning part of things has been good.
Just some maintenance days for individual guys sometimes that we see over there on the sidelines.
Yeah. Everybody's got through numbers of practices and things like that. No matter how many reps we want them to get. If we're in a double day, there may be a few guys that don't get that second one completely.
You mentioned the quarterbacks. What do you want to see most from that group kind of step up this year? Obviously, starting with Brett, but also even maybe Tommy a little bit too.
Yeah, good decisions. I think that starts right there. We talk about toughness at that position, but decision making. All these guys making great decisions out there because that's really when it comes down to it. Do we have the ball in our possession when we go out there and we have a chance to punt it, kick it, either way? And then we can go out there and play defense. So I think that's the key ingredient, always is. Want to see that, and I've been seeing that throughout camp. Saw that for the most part tonight, and we'll continue with that same emphasis all the way through the season.
What from the wide receiver corps has impressed you? We talked to Cedric Wilson the other day. He's a JUCO transfer, as you know, and also Thomas Spurbeck and also Chaz Anderson. Which wide receivers impressed you in the fall camp?
Yeah, all of them. I think all those guys are doing a good job. I really do, from top to bottom. There's obviously some separation in experience and playing and some physical separation in there as well with some of the young guys, but they've all been very good. I think Coach Adams has that room really dialed into what his expectations are, and we're seeing that, but we're still early in what we're trying to accomplish, and we don't have everything in, so we're trying to see where we can go and maybe which of those young guys might help us, if any. And then Cedric Wilson being one of the new ones, where does he go from here and how do we continue to utilize him?
With Seth, he kind of reminded us the other day that he's only really been playing the position for a couple of years now. And,
yeah.
I mean, does that seem the case? And how much have you kind of seen him already progress in a short amount of time here?
Yeah, he's smart. He grinds on film. He works really hard. He has a whole lot of fun with the game. So he's just I think it remains to be seen, but you know, he's just scratching the surface right now of where he's going to be. We'll have to go out there and find out in a real game what that looks like, but he's a lot of fun to be around. I think he's contagious, you know, with guys. I think he really gets what we're trying to accomplish here with just a mentality, and it's been fun to have him.
But 8 days in now, I guess. I think you've had 4 in a row in full pads, at least in one of the practices, right?
Yeah.
I mean, kind of culminating the first, I guess, block of camp with the scrimmage tonight.
Yeah.
How do you feel the first 8 days have gone so far overall?
Yeah, really good. Yeah, I think it's been really good. I think the guys have taken to what we're trying to accomplish. I think they understand where we want to be. Certainly, this is not the point we want to be, but through these practices, when we start getting the game planning Lafayette, what that is supposed to look like, and they're working every day. So we're progressing, and you know, that needs to show up tomorrow. We'll watch the tape tonight, and we'll see what happens with these next remaining practices before we scrimmage again and see what progress we've made. But at this point, I think we're where we want to be.
How much more time do you spend at the offensive end or with the offense in a normal practice maybe than you had in the past when you weren't calling plays?
Yeah, a little more, and that really is because, you know, now we have, you know, some guys in operations that are really handling quite a few things that you know, taking a little bit off my plate, so it's allowing me to be in the offensive room a little bit more, still in the defensive staff room as well, and trying to make sure that you know, I know what we're doing there. And you know, Coach Avalos and that staff done a great job. I like what we're seeing on defense, but I've been freed up more to get in there and be more coordinator at times, which has helped me feel better about the game plan, understanding it, and able to call plays.
From the linebacking core, Andy Avalos, hardworking Boise State linebacker back in the day.
Yeah.
What linebackers on this unit remind you of him?
Good question. Yeah, I think Andy's different. I think all those guys have taken on his mentality, and I think we have quite a few of those. Tanner Vallejo, for example, has taken on the physicality that Corey Hall and Andy Avalos played with. That's probably what I see from that group. I couldn't pick one of them, to be honest with you. I think they all, when you walk by that room, that's one of the most dialed-in rooms. When they come into meetings, they're there early, they pay attention, they walk out of there with notebooks filled with information, and they go apply it on the field. So to me, it shows up, you know, the type of player, and you know, I don't know how to totally translate into the coaching part of it, but the mentality does.
David Moa is the guys that really kind of stepped up in the spring, and
Yeah.
like you guys were talking about him in the summer. How has he carried over into the fall? And you know, when you think of him, what stands out?
Yeah, it's carried over. Physical up front, and it needs to be. Still has to continue to be a guy that is not just a plug guy, but also a guy that's an attacker and can get off blocks, create havoc in the run game, but get after the quarterback.
He doesn't look necessarily like some of those other guys that are working at that spot, but it seems like he still gets it done. How's that possible?
Yeah, he does. He's working, you know, to continue to keep developing there. I think a mentality, I really do. I think that Coach Caldwell, that D-line group, those guys understand, you know, what they have to do at that position. And so Sam McCaskill and Elliot Hoyt, guys like that have played, really make sure that guys are doing the right things, you know, as far as effort and what their assignments are. And that's showing up in practice, but, you know, again, we got to go do it.
Zach Hill, quarterback guru, worked with some great quarterbacks back in there, like Vernon Adams and Bo Levi Mitchell at Eastern
Right.
Washington.
Right.
How vital is he to the progression of Fred Rippon as a quarterback?
Ask that again?
You got a haircut.
What's that?
You got a haircut.
Oh, I did. Amazing. Yeah, cut that and move on to the.
How vital is
Yeah, later.
Zach Hill to the progression of Brett Rippon as a quarterback?
Yeah, it's been good. I think he's worked with all those guys very well. He's an excellent teacher, and his demeanor in that room, of just them understanding, you know, what we're trying to accomplish. At the same time, also commanding certain things where it's not an option. Like, this is what has to happen. And there's a fine line of that. Quarterback position, there's a lot of feel to it, but there's also some command in it too, where it's just, this is, you know, it's black and white in some of those situations there. And I think it's been a good balance, and I've seen that in practice. Certainly, you know, so many other situations we have to put these guys in before we really feel like they're ready for everything. And even, you know, Brett, he's played. You got to go back. That you're talking about 2015 team, and completely different. So we have new scenarios that have come up that we want to keep working, and he's certainly got to improve in those areas as well.
Brett's talked about, getting the ball out quicker a little bit, and it seems like, with that offense that Zach ran in Eastern Washington, it seems like kind of apply some of those concepts to you guys. How much has that kind of
We've certainly added wrinkles from what they've done. Vernon Adams is different now. He'll run around a little bit, and he would throw that deep ball.
I was thinking some of the
quite
other
a
ones,
bit.
but yeah.
Yeah, some of the other guys. Levi, I can't remember his last name. That was there, but Zach's been. He's played the position, or he's coached the position, and I think that's where, not the good times, but where some of the tough times, he's able to coach in situations and go, okay, here's where we are. This is what needs to happen, and that's what I'm talking about. Just that demeanor in a meeting, because sometimes it's firm and sometimes it's mentoring and just talking about it and trying to see where your quarterback's at. And I think he does a really good job of that. That position, though, still working. A lot of work in progress.
In the secondary, Evan Tyler, Cam Hartsfield, kind of the next guys up there. They're probably going to be called upon this season some. How do you feel about the guys behind DSG and Chance?
Yeah, I think they've all improved. And technique-wise, I think their knowledge of what the offense is trying to do to them. The defense is, they've thrown a lot at those guys as well. And being back there, and one of the things that I think iron sharpens iron, and you've got a quarterback like Brett that's able to help those guys get better. They're getting him better. But that group in particular, every single one of those guys, and whether it might be a young guy in the mix too, is certainly going to have to be prepared to play. That's just, we've learned that last year when DSG was injured in the Virginia game. We need to have depth, and we have players now at positions a little bit more, but the depth is going to be the key ingredient, and quality depth where guys can come in and play. That's what we're trying to make sure happens.
Is there one guy out of that group that's kind of set himself apart yet, whether it's Cam or Evan or anybody?
Chancellor James has done a nice job out there.
Anybody behind those two starters, though? Or?
Yeah, I think, Evan Tyler's certainly been a guy that stepped up. Cam Hartsfield. I've really been impressed with Cam Hartsfield. Cam comes to work every day. He's got a workman-like mentality, and he's made plays, and that's one of the things that you want to see out there is just a guy like that consistently does it. And then there's a few of those young faces back there too that have gotten reps, at Jordan Happel, at Jalen Walker, and all that.
Yeah. You mentioned some of those.
You got that squirm, huh? I know how that goes.
He was doing good like 45 minutes.
He's good. You can bring him over here. We'll put him on camera. Huh?
You mentioned some of the young faces. I don't know if at this point you said it's still early, but if some of those freshmen, I know you got to play some of them at some spots. If any really kind of stood out to you?
Not yet. They've done good things, but when you're really looking at it, when you get into a game, is this going to be a productive player right away? Not yet. And luckily, we're not playing right now. I think after tonight, I think one of the things. We've had a few practices where we've been live, but after tonight, there'll be a lot of guys that will go to bed tonight with their eyes wide open thinking about, okay, this is different. Practice when we scrimmage and we crank it up, it's different. And we'll find out in these next two practices the mentality. They're either going to attack it and embrace that, or they're going to pull back and they're going to separate themselves and kind of get back in the back of the lines and go, I don't know about this next scrimmage I'm going to be in, because it's only going to get even more intense.
You got new faces on the defensive line. Coach Caldwell said this is like a new cast of Saturday Night Live, basically. What are some of the new players on the defensive line that impressed you?
I don't know about the Saturday Night Live. I've seen Saturday Night Live. Certainly not that. Chase Hatada, Coyote, those have been two guys that have stood out. Jabari, Watson, to name a few. And those guys have probably gotten in and gotten a few pops with some of the backup groups and not just the threes. But that we feel like that entire group is going to be pretty good. And once they have some time to keep developing. Skill positions you can throw out there a little bit more. You start talking about the trenches and putting young guys in there. There's a strength component that just is a major factor, and really that durability, and you just don't know that. Probably no more tonight. We'll go back and watch the scrimmage and then see, what we look like tomorrow with guys, little bumps and bruises and different things like that. How do they respond? Because that's going to be the nature of that position week in and week out.
I know that you said, or a lot of coaches have talked about there's going to be some freshmen that make an impact on this team. And after praising them, a lot of you guys also said that we need to see them in pads, and now that you have, have you been able to evaluate them just a little bit further now that you have seen them in contact?
Yeah, we will tonight. I haven't seen the tape yet, but certainly that'll be a part of it. I thought just overall there was some good physical plays out there, and you're looking for a guy that, as a true freshman, can go out there and play against a fifth-year senior. And fifth-year seniors are just different. They're hardened up. They got a little bit better understanding of what's going on, and they don't get rattled as easy. So certainly saw some freshman moments tonight as well. And that's what I'm saying is we'll find out in the next 2 days who's going to turn it up and who's going to turn it down. And those ones that turn it up, there'll be guys that can help us, because we do feel like we have quality players and depth, but they've also got to be able to go out there and play at that level that everybody's playing at.